Okay, so we're diving into Heretics of Dune today, and wow, you were not kidding when you said this excerpt collection was gonna be a wild ride. We've got power struggles, manipulation, religion, and even some pretty profound questions about what it means to be human. Herbert really went there.
It's incredible how he takes these huge, almost overwhelming themes and brings them down to such a personal level. You're not just reading about empires clashing, you're right there with these characters as they grapple with these impossible choices, shaped by forces they can barely comprehend, let alone control.
And Heretics throws us right into the thick of it, centuries after the original Dune series. The Bene Gesserit, those women with their mind-bending abilities and long game, their strategies are still in play, still pulling the strings from the shadows. They've spent generations breeding and manipulating bloodlines, and we're still left wondering, what's their end game? What are they really after?
It's important to remember that the Bene Gesserit truly believe they're acting for the greater good. They see themselves as guides for humanity. They use whatever they have to genetics, politics, even religion to nudge us all down a path they see as essential for survival. Now, whether that path truly benefits everyone or just serves their own agenda, well, that's the question Herbert constantly forces us to wrestle with.
And right in the middle of it all is Duncan Idaho. He's not just a legendary swordmaster in Mentat, a human computer, but also a Gola clone. And not just any clone, he's brought back again and again. So what makes him so special that these powerful forces keep resurrecting him?
Well, I think Duncan's existence really gets to the heart of a key theme in Dune, the whole idea of genetics and destiny, right? The Bene Gesserit are fixated on the Atreides bloodline, the lineage known for its charisma, its leadership qualities, even that touch of prescience, the ability to glimpse into potential futures. So bringing Duncan back over and over suggests they see something in that bloodline, something powerful, something they believe is worth trying to control, even if it means manipulating a man who never asked to be reborn.
Right, and we can't forget about the other players in this whole cosmic game. We've got the Tleilaxu lurking around with their creepy axlotl tanks and those unsettling face dancers who can change their appearance at will. And then there are the Fremen on Arrakis, still tied to those giant sandworms and their precious spice. But now they're led by Sheeana, a young woman who can actually control the worms.
Sheeana's power completely changes the game. I mean, think about it.
Uh-huh.
Control the sandworms, you control the spice. And spice is still the most valuable substance in the universe. Control that, and you control interstellar travel, the flow of information, power itself. It's no wonder everyone and their mother is watching Arrakis with more than a little envy and fear, I'd say.
It really does feel like a powder keg ready to blow with all these different factions circling each other, just waiting for the right moment. And to make things even more complicated, there's the legacy of the God Emperor Leto II, the tyrant. He might be long gone, but his influence is still felt everywhere, like a ghost haunting the universe he shaped for millennia.
Leto II and his golden path, his grand plan to make humanity essentially indestructible, well, that's a prime example of Herbert
Yeah.
exploring the unintended consequences of even the best intentions, right? Leto II ruled with absolute power, used brutal methods, all to force humanity down a path he believed was for our own good. Now, centuries later, we're seeing the ripple effect of those actions. A stark reminder that even the best intentions can pave the road to hell, as they say.
And that's where our deep dive truly starts to take shape. The excerpts you shared put us right inside a Bene Gesserit keep on the planet Gamu. We see a young Duncan Idaho, just a kid really, being trained. His Gula memories are still a blank slate at this point, but even so, his strategic brilliance, those combat instincts, they're impossible to miss. It just makes you wonder what the Bene Gesserit have planned for him, especially with all the secrecy surrounding his existence. It's a little ominous, to say the least.
And this is where the Bene Gesserit's methods get really interesting, even, dare I say, disturbing. It's not enough that they're training Duncan. They're trying to mold him to shape his very identity to suit their needs. Remember, every time he's resurrected, he's a blank slate. So the Bene Gesserit, they get to imprint their values, their priorities, their memories even, onto him. Makes you question what free will really means, doesn't it?
Right.
What does it mean to be an individual when your very essence is being molded by someone else?
Chilling, to say the least. And then it gets even more intense. Imagine being Duncan and starting to uncover these clues about your past lives, realizing you're not an original, but a copy, a shadow of someone who lived and died before you.
And that's where other memory adds another layer to this.
Yeah.
The Bene Gesserit have this ability to tap into the memories of their female ancestors, creating this massive well of shared knowledge and experience. Duncan represents the opposite, a
Yeah.
blank slate, waiting for memories to be written. It's a stark contrast, right? He's at the mercy of others, his identity constantly being inscribed upon, while the Bene Gesserit, they hold the pen, so to speak.
Yeah.
They control their own narratives. It's not all black and white, though, right? Even within the Bene Gesserit, you have these different factions, these competing ideas about how to guide humanity, how to play this cosmic chess game.
Right, they might have this unified front, but there are cracks in that facade for sure.
Exactly. Take Teraza, the Mother Superior. She's trying to maintain order, to hold on to power as the universe throws one curveball after another at her. But then you have Odrade, another powerful Reverend Mother, and she's not afraid to question things, to challenge the status quo, even if it means butting heads with Teraza.
Yeah, and speaking of challenging the status quo, the Tleilaxu really take the cake in that department. I mean, they give me the creeps. Waff, their elusive leader, he's like a shark circling in the water, always looking for the weak spot. And that whole thing with them being obsessed with Bene Gesserit breeding secrets, bone chilling.
It all comes back to control, doesn't it? But the Tleilaxu, they represent a whole different approach.
Mm.
The Bene Gesserit, they're playing this long game, right? Generations of subtle manipulation.
Mm-hmm.
But the Tleilaxu, they want immediate results.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not afraid to get their hands dirty to use some, shall we say, unconventional methods. Axlotl tanks, face dancers. It's a twisted kind of power they're wielding.
And those methods, the technology, it all becomes especially terrifying when you consider the threat facing everyone, the Honored Matres.
Talk about shaking things up. Here come the Honored Matres, descending from the scattering, bringing their own brand of chaos and, frankly, violence.
These women are ruthless warriors with advanced tech and these almost mystical powers. It's like they've come to rewrite all the rules. How does anyone even begin to deal with a force like that?
That's the thing about the Honored Matres. They turned the Bene Gesserit's own game on its head. For centuries, the Bene Gesserit have relied on subtlety, on manipulation from the shadows. But the Honored Matres, they're a tidal wave. They don't bother with subtlety, they just take what they want.
And woe betide anyone who gets in their way, right?
You got it. The Honored Matres, they're a force of nature, and their arrival throws the entire universe into chaos. The Bene Gesserits are left scrambling, trying to figure out how to deal with an enemy that fights by a completely different set of rules.
And in the middle of all this, you've got Miles Teg, Duncan Idaho's swordmaster, fiercely loyal, and a brilliant strategist in his own right. He's willing to risk everything to protect Duncan.
Teg's an interesting character. Here's a man trained to kill, a master of violence. But he's also got this deep well of compassion, of honor. The Bene Gesserit training, it's instilled in him this incredible resilience, this ability to adapt and overcome, even in the face of unimaginable horror. And believe me, things get pretty horrific for poor Teg.
Oh, you're talking about the T-probe, right? I mean, that thing is the stuff of nightmares. The ability to completely hijack someone's nervous system, to force their body to do your bidding, it's the ultimate violation.
You got that right. And what the T-probe does to Teg, well, it pushes him to the absolute limit, physically and mentally. You would think it would break him. But here's the thing, Teg, he not only survives that ordeal, he undergoes this incredible transformation because of it.
Almost like the T-probe backfired in a way, turning him into something, well, something more than human.
It's like something dormant within him was awakened. The trauma triggered these hidden reserves of strength, of speed. It's almost like he's tapped into some primal power. And I think that's one of the things Herbert does so well. He takes these situations that seem utterly hopeless and shows us that even in our darkest moments, we have the potential for growth, for transformation.
Yeah.
What doesn't kill us, right?
It's almost like Herbert saying, you think you know what's going on, you think you've got the universe figured out, and then bam, he pulls the rug out from under you.
That's what makes it so compelling, though, isn't it? Just when you think you've got a handle on things, everything shifts.
It's like trying to nail jelly to a wall. And in the middle of all this cosmic chaos, you've got characters making these huge choices, facing impossible odds. Take Odrade, for example. She could easily try to hold on to power, try to weather the storm of the Honored Matres, but instead, she does something totally unexpected. She heads straight into the heart of Arrakis with Sheeana, guided by a giant sandworm, no less.
Talk about a leap of faith. Most people would see a giant sandworm and run for the hills. But Odrade, she sees an opportunity. She's willing to tap into something ancient, something even the Bene Gesserit haven't fully grasped, if it means gaining an advantage.
It's such a powerful image, the vastness of the desert, this tiny figure dwarfed by this creature of sand and spice. But what's she looking for out there? What secret is buried in the sands of Arrakis that could possibly help them against an enemy like the Honored Matres?
Well, remember how we were talking about the Tleilaxu and their obsession with the Bene Gesserit's breeding program? It goes deeper than we thought. They haven't just been spying on the Bene Gesserit. They've been making their own moves, forging alliances, gathering information. They're playing both sides, as usual.
Those sneaky bastards. It's all a game to them, isn't it? They don't care who wins or loses as long as they come out on top.
It's all about power, right? And the Tleilaxu, they're masters at leveraging whatever they can to gain an edge. And their manipulations, they have some serious consequences. All that information they've gathered, the alliances they've forged, it all comes to a head in this showdown between Terraza, the Bene Gesserit Mother Superior, and Waf, the Tleilaxu Master.
A clash of the titans. What happens?
Let's just say it's a battle of wits, a game of cat and mouse,
Hmm.
where the very fate of the known universe hangs in the balance. It's Herbert at his finest twists, turns, and betrayals that leave you wondering who, if anyone, you can actually trust.
So after this deep dive, after all the twists and turns and double crosses, where do we land? What's the big takeaway from all this?
I think Herbert leaves us with more questions than answers, which is probably the point. Here we are in this vast universe, caught in this web of manipulation and power struggles. And it makes you wonder, what does it even mean to be human? Is it about control, like the Bene Gesserit and the Tleilaxu believe? Or is it about something else entirely?
About accepting that we don't have all the answers. About embracing the chaos, even.
Maybe. Maybe it's about finding our own way, even when the universe seems determined to throw everything it has at us.
Just like Duncan and Teg and all the rest, they're all trying to navigate this insane landscape shaped by forces they don't fully understand.
And that's the beauty of Herbert's work, isn't it? He doesn't give us easy answers. He forces us to confront these big, uncomfortable questions. He makes us think about the nature of power, the choices we make, the things we're willing to fight for.
Yeah, and he reminds us that sometimes the most dangerous enemy is the one we see in the mirror. So to our listeners out there, keep those questions close. Keep exploring the universe Herbert created. Because in the end, it's not about finding all the answers, it's about the journey, right?
Absolutely. It's about embracing the mystery, the uncertainty, and finding our own meaning in the midst of it all.
Kind of said it better myself. And on that note, we'll leave you to ponder those very questions. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into Heretics of Dune. We'll see you next time when we'll dive into another corner of this vast and endlessly fascinating universe.